Welcome to another edition of HorseCenter, everyone. As always, I am Brian Zipsy, that never changes, and today I'm joined by my partner from the East Coast, Matt Schiffman. How are you today, Matt?
I'm great, Brian. To say that last weekend, the last days of January, what a fantastic weekend of racing that was. In January, it's only January, Brian, and we had the Holy Bull, we had the Withers, we had the NHC finals, we had that big weekend of racing at Sam Houston, and it's only January, and it was just fantastic stuff.
Matt, you sound fired up today. I'm glad to see it. It's only going to get better from here. January, this is when I think the Derby contenders start to separate themselves from the pack. The horses that we're going to see really start to shine in May, start to show us the big signs in January. I think we saw a little bit of that, including, of course, I thought an absolutely beautiful performance in the Holy Bull by Mohaymen. Matt, he was number 1 on your list going in. He was number 2 on my list. I'll tell you what, we're not talking top 10 today, but I will tell you this, Matt. You are now not alone with the horse-centered people in the top 10 having Mohaymen number 1.
Yeah, Brian, that was quite a performance. And I know I stuck my neck out a little bit at the end of the show last week and said we're going to see a big performance from Mohaymen, and he had my back in that race. That was a wow race, and I know we're not doing top 10s, but if we were doing top 10s, he's my number 1, and I got a huge gap in my top 10 to go down and find a number 2 right now.
A huge gap, and Matt, I can't blame you. Mohaymen looked great. I don't trust the words of the trainers quite as much as you do. I have to see it for myself a little bit more. Obviously, McLaughlin is super high on this horse, and after what we saw Saturday, it makes sense. He's smooth. He's effortless. I thought in the Holy Bull, he also had a little bit of. I wondered if he would be bothered being behind and in between horses. That didn't bother him a bit. He moved up when Junior asked him. So smoothly. He went right after Greenpoint Crusader. He had him measured the whole way. It was easy. It was remarkable how easy he just pulled away from Greenpoint Crusader easily at the beginning of the stretch. And he really he won by, I guess it was less than 4 lengths, Matt, but he was cruising. He looks like he wants more distance. He reminds you, at least, of American Pharoah in how effortlessly and easy he's doing this fluid. I saw all of that. I thought this was his best performance yet. Mohaymen, real deal. Yes, let's hope he stays healthy, Matt.
Yeah, that's always a major concern on the Derby trails. And I'll tell you, Greenpoint Crusader didn't disgrace himself coming back from the layoff from the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. I don't think it was a matter of Greenpoint Crusader quitting in that race. I thought he showed himself well, and I'll look forward to seeing his next race, wherever that might be. It was just Mohaymen putting on a show.
Mohaymen put on a show, Matt. You are absolutely right. And Greenpoint Crusader, I'm going to agree with you. He's still in my top 10. I thought he did something that he's not used to doing, at least in stakes company, Matt, and he was basically on the lead. That's not his game. I don't think it will be his game moving forward. There was a lack of pace down in Florida for the Holy Bull. Greenpoint Crusader was nowhere near the winner, but he was clearly second best. I think that moves him forward, and I still like Greenpoint Crusader a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, I think he's going to move forward. He showed some things that he hadn't before, and I think he's going to be an interesting horse to watch.
Okay, so for Matt and me, the Holy Bull, absolutely, we're both super impressed with the performance. Mohaymen is now number 1 with a bullet for the Kentucky Derby. Matt, out on the West Coast, I thought there was a pretty impressive performance too. Now, this came against Cowbreds. This was a restricted stakes. There wasn't much competition. Smokey Image was a big favorite going in, but still, what he did, the ease in which he did it, you had to be impressed with Smokey's Image. 6th straight win, this one coming in the Cal Cup Derby.
Without question, and you've heard me say it before on the shows, racing fans, sports fans love the unbeaten team. They love the unbeaten horse, and Smokey Image is giving us that. 6 for 6. Mohaymen 4 for 4 is giving us that. Immediately, of course, we start hearing of Smokey Image to California Chrome. I'm not sure about that right yet. He's going to have to step up out of restricted company and show that he really deserves to be compared to California Chrome, but worth getting excited about.
Worth getting excited about for sure, Matt. And yeah, I was going to mention the comparisons to California Chrome. I guess they're obvious. Uh, he's a California bred. He's a chestnut. He's a flashy chestnut who's just dominating his competition out in Southern California. He hasn't run against the big boys that should come next. 5 for 5 as a juvenile. He switched barns to Carla Gaines. He's got distance breeding. Southern Image was a horse that I thought could be a very, very good horse before he was prematurely retired. He did win the Santa Anita Handicap at 10 furlongs. He won the Pimlico Special at a distance. He's got great blood for 10 furlongs on that side. Dam side is Free House. You know how much I love Free House and how well he did at classic distances. So I think Smokey Image, I might like him better than you, Matt. I saw that quick burst that became famous for California Chrome. So I just see a lot in common with California Chrome. Not that that's the be all end all. He does have to do it against better horses, but I wanted to see him at 2 turns. He passed that test. Victor Espinoza
Yeah.
is got on him for the first time, and Victor's crowing about him already for whatever that means. But obviously, Victor knows good 3-year-olds in recent years. And Smoky Image, whether it translates to the Triple Crown against these top horses or not, Smoky Image to me already is the real deal, and I think he will compare well against the California 3-year-olds. You mentioned undefeated ones. We got to mention Nyquist, who's 5 for 5 and the 2-year-old champion. Although I think Nyquist will head east to Florida and maybe a matchup with Mohaymen in the Florida Derby down the road. He's going to start in the San Vicente in 2 weeks against Exaggerator. So we won't see Smoky Image against Nyquist anytime soon, but Smoky Image is going to go open company next time out, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's going to be, like I said, it just adds another layer of interest out on the West Coast. And, with Nyquist going to Florida, and I guess I've heard that he's going to Florida because there's a Fasig-Tipton bonus that he may be eligible from him being a sale horse at one of their sales.
Yeah, that's right. As a Fasig-Tipton Florida bred sales horse, he will get a bonus Florida Derby, Kentucky Derby related. So that's part of the story. I think they were also concerned about El Nino a little bit, and they thought maybe getting the distance races on the East Coast is a good idea. Of course, from the Doug O'Neill barn, who did so well with I'll Have Another a few years ago. Matt, let's switch gears. Let's go from California out to your neck of the woods. You were on the scene at Aqueduct on Saturday for the Withers. The Withers used to be a post-Derby race, but now the last few years it's become a Kentucky Derby prep. But will this particular Withers translate to the Kentucky Derby at all, Matt?
I don't know. It wasn't the strongest field, and Flexibility, who was in there looking for his second Derby prep win in New York, had a disappointing performance. He'd run several races since he broke his maiden without any break, and he just had a plain flat performance in there. So certainly Flexibility, we don't really see as a player going down the road. But Sunny Ridge, on the other hand, who has always shown promise to get the distance and of the Triple Crown races, came up with a nice performance there. He was a little bit more forwardly placed. That may have been because he had a rider change and the situation, but he ran a good solid race. And Brian, you and I, as both New Jersey breds, we got to like the horse.
We gotta like the horse, Matt. I've liked the horse for a while. He won the Sapling, one of the big races of yesteryear from Monmouth, and then he ran a very good second in the Champagne to Greenpoint Crusader, a very good second to Exaggerator. These are horses we like in the Delta Downs jackpots. He end the year, and now I wasn't surprised at all. He won. He ran a similar race, another good race, another hard trying race to win the Withers. I see the bottom side of Song and a Prayer. Holy Bull on the top side maybe gives me some hope, but Song and Prayer is very sprinty in my eyes, at least. I think not even his trainer, Jason Service, is thinking necessarily Derby with this one. Folks, I really like Sunny Ridge. I've liked him for a while. Wasn't surprised by his win in the Withers at all, but I don't see him as a Derby horse. I don't see him winning a 10-furlong Kentucky Derby, but I do think Sunny Ridge is just going to be one of those hard-hitting horses that wins a ton of money, wins a ton of races between a mile and a mile and eighth, as the Withers was. Flexibility, probably got a little bit of a weak spot in the Jerome, was second to Mohaymen, but maybe maybe his weakness showed up a little bit. Wasn't his best performance on Saturday, but yeah, I don't see flexibility moving forward as a strong Derby horse either. So agreed on the Withers. Probably not a Derby horse in there.
Yeah, and after the race, Jason Service, Sunny Ridge's trainer, even kind of started hinting at the fact that maybe they would skip the Derby, aim for the Preakness, and then after that, the New Jersey connections, they really want to get a shot at the Haskell.
Yeah, it makes sense. Haskell's a big race for the Jersey Connections, and the Preakness, smaller field and a little bit shorter distance. If Sunny Ridge is to make any noise on the Triple Crown series, I think the Preakness would make more sense. So we'll see Sunny Ridge again in Aqueduct, either the Gotham or the Wood. Nice horse, could do well still in the Derby preps down the road, but probably not a Derby horse. But maybe that Derby horse materialized, or again showed his face down in Florida this time. Shagaf has been much talked about since he was impressively won in his maiden as a 2-year-old in New York. Second start, he was heavily favored in a Gulfstream Park allowance on Friday, Matt. And I really thought we'd see a little bit more from Shagaf. They're saying all the right things. He's a good-looking, good, well-bred horse. But I wasn't bowled over by race number 2 at Gulfstream on Friday.
Yeah, good solid performance from Shagaf, another Shadwell, but this one's trained by Chad Brown. Did nothing wrong. Good solid win, but I don't know, Brian. Maybe there's another Derby horse in that field. The Pletcher horses have been under the radar so far, and there was a Pletcher horse in that race named Rally Cry who was making his third start. And my goodness, what a horrible trip that horse had in that allowance race. He was making a bold move along the rail between horses, about to take the lead, and he got shut off really badly, dropped back almost to a walk significantly. And then as he was getting shuffled back from that, he got steadied again in that situation and was way dead last, out of a full run. But that rider asked him to go. He swung him to the outside, and Rally Cry made a heck of a run down the stretch after all of that trouble. So I haven't eliminated that Pletcher trainee from possibility.
Absolutely, Matt. I completely agree with you. When I watched the race, I was more interested in watching Shagaf. I thought he was the better possibility, better contender moving forward. But watching the race, I really came away thinking, well, maybe he wasn't the best horse in the race. Rally Cry ran big considering all the trouble he had. He was beaten just over 2 lengths from Shagaf, who I thought had to be asked a little bit, even late down the lane. So yeah, Rally Cry, Shagaf. We need to see them against Stakes Company. We need to see them with more similar trips, because obviously Rally Cry did not get the trip on Friday. But yeah, 2 horses moving forward that could certainly make some noise in Stakes Company. They might be that good. Not sure. Both are kind of hovering maybe outside my top 10 right now, but certainly horses to keep an eye on.
Yeah, no question about it, Brian.
Okay, Matt, that was last week. That was a great week. We have a better week of racing coming. The Don, we got the San Antonio, we got things going on all over the place. But from a Derby standpoint, I think we have to talk about More Spirit, one of my top horses, one of your top horses from the Baffert barn, making his first start since winning the Los Alamitos Futurity. The son of Escandarea is going to run in the Robert B. Lewis, which looks like a small field.
Yeah, it looks like a small field, and it looks like it probably won't be the strongest field. So it's going to be a good opportunity for More Spirit to get some more experience. And, he's going to need to show us a pretty strong victory in this race in the kind of field he's going to face.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he'll face a lot either. Maybe there'll be some lightly raced horses that appear that are getting good. But as it stands now, More Spirit's probably going to be a big favorite in the Lewis. I still think he's a major horse to watch out for this year. So I'm looking for a big performance. Gary Stevens, no doubt the experienced one, will give him teach him some more lessons in this race. But look for More Spirit, I think, to dominate on Saturday in the Robert B. Lewis. And speaking of dominating on Saturday at Santa Anita, we have to mention the filly, the undefeated champion, the superstar, the one that was my number 1 3-year-old until I saw Mohaymen run in the Holy Bull, and that's Songbird making her first start of the year in the Las Virgenes.
Yeah, that's going to be great to see her back. I'm sure that that's not going to be much of a contest because Songbird is just that good. I think it'll fuel more questions about Is there any chance that Songbird is going to go in the Derby? Who knows? But one thing we do know is that they did not early nominate her to the Triple Crown Series. That's not a big deal. It'll cost them just a mere $6,000 later on in the spring if they change their mind. So, that will add a lot of intrigue to our discussions.
It will. And Matt, how good would it be to see Songbird and More Spirit actually run against each other Saturday rather than probably taking on less than stellar fields as they will. So we're looking, folks, for big wins from Songbird and More Spirit Saturday in California. Songbird, everything that the team is saying right now is pointing towards the Kentucky Oaks, not the Kentucky Derby. But as Matt said, things change. You never know. We'll see. Expect her in the Las Virgenes Saturday, then the Santa Anita Oaks next. Maybe they will get a little bit more Derby fever if she looks every bit as good as she did last year when she was a dominant filly. More Spirit, improving with every start. Number 2 on my list now should be good in the Lewis. Anything else, Matt?
Yeah, just to remind the fans that the Songbird connections, if they change their mind and think Derby, she will have to accumulate points against the boys on Derby Trail.
Well, Matt, that'll only take one race, I think. So I think she could do it, whether it be the Santa Anita Derby or another. We'll see if they even consider the Derby with her. Folks, that's been another Kentucky Derby laden show for HorseCenter. We're going to keep talking Derby all the way up to the first Saturday in May. We'll get some other stuff in there too, don't worry. Next week we have recaps from the races we talked about in California, also the big handicap races. The Pizza Man is going to be running on turf in Florida. Lots of good stuff coming up this weekend, so don't miss us next week. HorseCenter, as always, was brought to you by Derby Wars. We'll see you again next week.